PR marketing fronts makes that passion shine through very well. Like you can clearly see it, and you can talk to the developers very straight on forums, for instance, and you get a sense that they are actually reading and reacting to what you're telling them. It's
I think it can be inspiring for other game designers to see that. The way they take their product seriously, for example. Now that you've gotten to work with them side by side, how does that feel? Do you see that kind of enthusiasm? Do they take the pride in the game?
Yes, I mean it shows just as well inside as it kind of like, well, even better of course when you're working here, but it's still the same thing. It's an awesome work environment because everybody's like thoroughly passionate about what they do, to the point of having massive arguments about it. But that's only like show like they really care what they're doing. They want to make a good thing and make the right thing. They want everything to be right. And a lot of both White Wolf and CCP employees are old fans and players themselves, both White Wolf products and CCP games, EVE Online, or both, like me for instance. And they're, of course, like very thrilled to continue working on what they initially liked as players and consumers.
There are a number of members of the World of Darkness development team that were previously on EVE that are now working on World of Darkness. With varying levels of experience with White Wolf products, some of these guys played them very much back in the day, and some of them are kind of new to it. How do you see those employees or those designers, taking the World of Darkness product and treating it with the right respect?
Oh, they absolutely are. The thing is that if you look at EVE Online, there's lots of similarities between White Wolf games and EVE Online. EVE Online is a very sandboxy game. It's not about the developer telling you exactly like Hollywood or World of Warcraft, like this is how you play our game. Do this, enjoy it, and smile. It's more of like giving players a toolkit, like hey, here's a bunch of stuff you can do, go play with it, and figure out for yourself how you want to have your fun with this game. And EVE Online is of course very concentrates and focused on the player interactions. Like one of the main mantras is really maximizing human interaction, just pitting players against each other or cooperating with each other for meaningful goals. That of course makes you very, very powerful, and that's what has allowed it to just grow and grow over the years. And if we think of White Wolf products, the design philosophy, like back from 1991 when it was first launched in Vampire the Masquerade, follows very much the same way. The golden rule was always there and very, very strongly underlined, like make this game into whatever you like, and it's just painting the scenery and a very, very vivid background for the games, but essentially it's up for the players to use it as they wish and make it an enjoyable experience for themselves. And that design philosophy from role-playing games translates extremely well to the design philosophy between in the MMOs that we make, starting with EVE Online.
So, do you feel that there's a distinct design philosophy that this is specifically Scandinavian over perhaps maybe like a Western Europe or America? And feel free to answer and finish for our audience.
Okay. Lähtökohtaisesti totta kai tosi paljon yleistään. Skandinaavinen niin pelin tekokulttuuri on paljon kokeilevampaa ja riskiä ottavampaa. Skandinaavit on paljon valmiimpia käyttämään aikuisempia teemoja, esimerkiksi katsotaan esimerkiksi vaikka Alan Wakea. Skandinaavinen yleisesti ottaen kunnioittaa pelaajia huomattavasti enemmän. Verrattuna esimerkiksi keskivertoisiin jenkkifirmoihin, ne ei mielestäni aliarvioida pelaajia. Sen siellä ehkä kohdellaan niitä huomattavasti enemmän älykkäinä ihmisinä, ei niinkään aivottomana massakuluttajina. Ja jos sitä taas vertaa erilaista pelinteko-mentaliteettia, niin esimerkiksi White Wolfin tuotteisiin, niin kaikki nämä samat arvot löytyy sieltä. Ja ehkä sen takia tämä White Wolfin ja CCP yhteenliittymä on niin täysin saumaton. White Wolf on aina ollut melko liberaali pelikehittäjä ja valmis kokeilemaan kaikkea jännää ja samalla periaatteella CCPkin on toiminut.
Okay, well, thanks again, and appreciate you taking the time.
No problem. Pitääkö kivaa Traconissa?
Okay. So, obviously didn't know what he said, but she was great. I didn't know when to stop. I'm like, did it. Teemu, our dapper Finn, perfect hair. He has really great insight. He's a producer, so he works with a lot of different teams and a lot of different disciplines, and he knows kind of what drives people and their motivations and stuff like that. So he's a very good leader in that respect, and he brings a lot of experience. Do we have any questions about the Thoronsons and Teemu? We've got a few minutes left. Or questions about everything in general? Yes?
Did he explain what he said?
No, what did he say? Did anybody want to run that through for me?
He talked about how the Scandinavian design philosophy, how it's not what is looking down on the player as.
It's more nature.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they treat people like intelligent beings instead of mass consumers.
We did talk about that. That's been a debate among some of the designers lately about, I guess, White Wolf products, when you had to print a book, you had to put a lot more trust in the player because we couldn't change the book after a certain amount of time. So we kind of built as much as we could and tried to not necessarily dumb it down, but over-explain a lot of stuff so that it didn't get lost in the, in the noise. Or just in the read, people tend to not read things the way we want them to, but that's just how life works. Whereas with video games, it's you can be a little more versatile, and you can kind of play off the player, especially in MMOs like EVE, for example. I mean, we're constantly responding to player interaction and player feedback. So we can treat them as an individual, as a specific individual, because we get data back and we see usernames. We don't get usernames when we have a book. So, while we end up running into people at conventions and stuff like that, they're just a tiny, tiny percentage of all the people playing the games in general. So, yeah, it's that's been an interesting challenge, I guess. And a lot of these guys from the White Wolf side have never launched a video game, really. So that'll be something new and exciting when we actually launch and are able to interact with the players and then kind of tweak things as we go along and see what kind of new things we can develop based on that IP. Anybody else? Do you have another question? Sure.
This isn't about the person's about the World of Darkness project.
Sure.
There's been a lot of discussion in the internet about how White Wolf is very much a rules-light company. They have this philosophy, but MMOs usually very rules-heavy. So how can you be? How can you tell a story when you have to kill 10 rats?
Well, we would never make that quest in the first place. Some of these conversations kind of touched on that, right? It's you can make a world that is not so much rules but tools, right? Like a basic outline for a game, the way EVE does with sovereignty and things like that. Like sovereignty isn't necessarily a rule that you have to follow. We don't tell you what you can say in a text box. We don't tell you who you can and can't talk to. But the tools are there. The chat box is there. The missions are there if that's something you want to do. Mining, planetary reaction. There's a lot of stuff you can do. We don't make you do any of it. You don't have to join a corporation. Your corporation doesn't have to join an alliance. You can run around as you please. But you're creating. It might not be thematic, the story that you get in EVE. You fly around your spaceship and you shoot guys that are named whatever. But you don't necessarily think of it as like, oh, I'm a Namar pirate and this Minotaur ship is flying through and we're starting a blockade, whatever. You just your story is your EVE story, and
So translate to the World of Darkness project? That is the whole play area player run.
I can't say one way or another about how that's going to work, but I think given our shared design philosophies throughout the years and our passion for having the players in the community generate a lot of content, you know, I think it'd be a pretty easy guess to say that, yeah, probably. Don't call me on that, I'll get in a lot of trouble. Anybody else? I'm just running out of time. Yes?
Is Teemu responsible for the Finnish names in EVE Online, like Kalevala expansion?
No, that's, there are a lot of Finns that work in the Iceland office. So I think Teemu's the only Finn that we have in the US office. Yes.
There are a lot of Finnish names in EVE, especially in Kaldari state.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a number of people really, but
most of those are actually generated to resemble Finnish names based on algorithm.
Also, Kalevala expansion.
Exactly, Kalevala expansion because somebody got to name it on the important side.
yeah, there is a name generator, but a lot of it is very Scandinavian, so I think they'll have some crossover there.
Yeah, most of those names were there already 7 years ago. So many other names were very different.
Okay, well, thank you all for coming, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation.